Welcome in, Motor Mike from Vacation Trucker. You're going to get a little insight into vintage vacation trucker life. A couple days ago, I just happened to be looking at the forecast. We were planning to go down to the Outer Banks probably in March or April. And I've already hit goal at work, thankfully. And so I started looking at the forecast, and there's a window of nice weather for about 4 days down at the Outer Banks. So I called my wife. I got my customers set up. She got everything lined up. Everything just fell into place. So literally within a couple days notice, we're on the road, and we're going to be hopefully in the morning at Ocracoke Island. It's about 696 miles. We're going to travel all night. So once again, that's the name, Vacation Trucker. We cover a lot of miles really fast, get to our destination. So Lord willing, we'll be in there. Should be, it's according if I have to stop and sleep just a little bit, but we should be there around 8 o'clock in the morning. You have to ferry across to the island. So we just had prayers of family. We're on the road. I'm going to go for a little bit, then my wife will take over, and hopefully she can drive till at least 1 or 2 in the morning, possibly later, and then I'll take over. And I don't fight it. If I'm tired, I just pull off, get a power nap, get right back on the road, and we take off. So sometimes it's not always the easiest, but so we're on our journey, we're off, and we're going to see where this takes us. So hopefully you enjoy. Welcome in. We just made the change. My help me just stopped driving. It's about 2:45 in the morning. We're at Richmond, Virginia on 64. I despise 64 so far, driving in the night, because you can't find a 24-hour gas station. So we just finally found one, found a She's, and of course a Sheetz gas station, and my kids are sleeping, and they had the music turned up, and I thought I was at a concert. And so fortunately the kids didn't wake up, and then the pump didn't work, and then the bathrooms were getting clean. So that was a real disaster, but we made it. So we're on the road. I got my trusty Red Bull, had a protein shake. So we're about 2.5 hours outside of Kitty Hawk. We're actually about 5.5 hours outside of Ocracoke Island. So we have a ways to go. And as we're traveling, you know, one of the things when you're traveling at night, the first thing I look at is the weather, because weather has a huge bearing on what kind of trip you're going to have. Visibility is huge. If you can see where you're going, that makes all the difference in the world, is having good visibility. It makes the trip so much easier. And you know, as you're traveling, if you're in the fog and the rain, it makes a long trip even longer. So I always make sure I check the weather. We always try to travel on a good night, and it makes it so much easier. Another thing is 24-hour gas stations. That's something you have to consider. And unfortunately, 64, I don't know what's going on in Virginia, but you guys need to get it together and get some 24-hour gas stations. And when you pull off the exits, then they tell you it's a mile off the exit. So I do not like the way 64 is set up at all. So maybe Virginia can work on that a little bit. But traveling at night, one of the nice things is, especially if you're off season, you don't have to worry about construction. And so you can make up a lot of time. Obviously coming through Richmond, Virginia, there's no traffic. So you avoid rush hour, you avoid road work. So if you want to make some really good time in the off season, you can travel at night if you can pull it off. Some people can't drive at night, and I understand that, but we do it all the time. Another advantage of traveling at night, of course, is the kids are asleep. I mean, that's the biggest advantage of all. So we're not getting questions when we're going to be there. We're not getting questions we need to stop and use the restroom. We just get to travel, and so it's the best way. So we just made the change. We have quite a ways to go. Once again, it's about 2:48 in the morning, and we're making good time. It's a good night to travel, and we'll check in here in a little bit. Thanks. about 7:55. We've arrived at the ferry. We're getting loaded on. Never done this before, so we're going to Ocracoke Island, and we'll see how this goes. Levi's the only one that took Dramamine, so hopefully nobody gets sick.
What? I didn't know cars can go in here.
Just loaded on to the ferry, and what a neat experience. From North Carolina, been to the Outer Banks, but never have come down this far, so it's a long ways down here. I think from Nags Head, right around there, it's right around 70 miles to get on down here, so it's a long ride, but it's a pretty ride. So, but the neat thing about this ferry is it's free, and they were telling me that in the summertime, of course, it's crazy, and I don't know how long we have to wait in the summertime, but of course, being February, we have a nice window. He said it's exceptionally calm right now, and he said the water's real nice. But since it's February, I think there were 5 cars. We drove right on, so about 5 minutes. It runs on the hour, so about 5 minutes till we drove on, and took no time at all to get on there. And what a nice experience. We got to go up and meet the captain, and showed us the radar, told us about the Gulf Stream, which is just right offshore. So, being that it's free, make sure you take advantage of it when you're down here on the banks. Of course, summertime, you're going to have to do some planning because it might be a little harder. But the kids, this is probably their favorite thing to wake off the boat. These ferries are coming and going. There's several different running right now. There's one coming in over here. You can see they're loaded up. And that'll be us a little later on. So make sure you enjoy. Well, we're getting ready to finish up and have a picnic. We spent a day here at Ocracoke, and it's been very nice. It's been very nice. So this being the first time that we've ever been here, I mean, as you can see, if you're looking for desolation, this is your spot. I mean, it takes a long time to get here. Then you have to ferry over. There's not a whole lot on the island, so if you're truly wanting to disconnect, this is the place to go. I also looked at both the campgrounds. You definitely want to go to Ocracoke's official campground. The state campground, I believe it is by far the nicest one. The other one it had what you need, but that was very well maintained. I'll put a picture there, the rates and the information on that. Definitely like Springer's Point. That was very neat. Obviously, to know that Blackbeard hung out there, cool experience. So we definitely enjoyed that. There's some nice hiking here. So overall, with the ferry ride over, it's just a very different experience, especially being an island and being so far out. So highly recommend at least once. And then you can see if it's for you. If you like all activities, I mean, of course, natural activities, you have everything you need. If you're looking for a lot of activities, putt-putt and go-kart racing and that sort of thing, this is not really where you want to go. But very impressive, very neat. I know the West gets a lot of publicity for its vastness, and rightly so. I've been out there, and the West is awesome, but this is a hidden little gem out here, just kind of so remote, and the pirate heritage it has. So definitely mark it down. As far as getting a motorhome in here of any size, I wouldn't be scared. I was talking to the guy on the ferry. He said they have motorhomes constantly in the summertime, and it's just a big straight road. So you talk about the easiest drive that you possibly could have, bringing anything in from 25 to 40 43, you're going to have no problem getting that thing in here. It's just straight roads. And both the campgrounds have access. So definitely make sure you bring your rigs down here. What a neat experience to ferry your rig across to an island, hang out for a couple days. So I highly recommend that. So hopefully this helps. Make sure you put it on the list. Check it out soon. And I hope this helps. Thanks. Pretty neat being from North Carolina. Of course, on the tags is First in Flight. And then I believe Ohio there for a while had Birthplace of Aviation. So maybe there was a little sparring going on there. But of course, being an Ohio, North Carolina connection makes this really neat. So from North Carolina now, I live in Ohio. But this is where they did it all. This is where it all started, the genesis of aviation. And this is where they took off on this rail. And then you can see all the way down their first, second, third, and fourth flight. So the Wright Brothers Memorial is definitely a neat place. And of course, we walked all the way up, and it's a great vantage point. You can see both sides of the banks. You can see the ocean from the memorial, which is really nice. They did a 30-minute presentation, so I highly recommend that. Kids were a little bored. It's a lot of information, but definitely take the time. Check out the 30-minute presentation on their life and what drove them. And then on the other side, they actually have a replica inside and on the other side outside where the kids can play. So really neat grounds to check out. If it was really hot, which this is North Carolina in the summer, it's probably not as comfortable, but it's a perfect day to come out and just walk around. There's nobody here. So definitely when you're in the area, check out the memorial. And a lot of facts. They were definitely driven men, that's for sure. They had a great support system. And so it just shows you what being tenacious in all avenues of life and where it can lead you. So check it out. Great place.
$1,000 to build this plane. Largest expense being the motor, as well as all the chains and the guides and the propellers and everything that really go with it. This was donated to us in 2003 at a value of $1.2 million. And it took a lot longer to build this than Orville and Wilbur built theirs in 1903. In Dayton, Ohio, where they lived and where they had their bike shop, that is where everything was designed and built. We always talk about Ohio is the birthplace of aviation. We were fortunate they flew it here. We're first in flight, but they, without a doubt, they're the birthplace of aviation. It truly is amazing. Remember, we said these guys are geniuses. When Wilbur's doing all their calculations, they realized that propellers that were currently in use would not be strong enough to produce enough thrust to move this 605-pound plane. They begin to do an analysis on what a propeller does. But it takes 8 to 10 weeks. And they understand now that it has to have a twist to it. It has to be wider at the top than the bottom. What the airflow does, why you need 2 propellers versus 1. Some of the people we worked with at NASA said this truly may be the greatest creation. Because the propeller that they designed in 1903 was about 75% as efficient as today's propellers. And the crazy thing, you know, we always talk about those people that are like overachievers, as you know. Wilbur carves this himself. He puts together 2 pieces of wood, he says in his notebook, starts with a hatchet, a draw knife, and then he sands it off. And this is one of the original 1903 propellers. That's hard to imagine itself. Not only having the genius to come up with this entire cabling idea, the warping of the wings, the rudder itself, and then the propellers. And 3.5 years from the time that you start to the time that you end. It's truly amazing. And nobody else has ever come up with anything better. You know, Orville lives to 1947. He gets to see Chuck Yeager break the sound barrier. He gets to see rockets in World War II. I mean, it's amazing the transition from 1903. And then in 1969, when Neil Armstrong lands on the moon, he takes with him a piece of this propeller and a piece of the cloth. We have them over here in our display. You get a chance to see. Brings them back. The fascinating thing that he says is that at the time he's on the moon, it looked very similar to Kitty Hawk when the Wright Brothers were here. There's no grass, no trees, just all dust. And then today on Mars flies Ingenuity. Well, the battery just ran out about 6 months ago, it's no longer flying. But it has a piece of the wing from the 1903 flyer taped to the bottom. So the plane's still flying today on Mars. Come a long way to 1903.
Welcome to Jockeys Ridge. What a neat place. This is the dunes in their original state. And as we just got back from the Wright Brothers Memorial, this is why they picked this spot, because it was nothing but sand and it was open. And of course, man has changed the surrounding area greatly with grass and trees. But this is the original state of the dunes, and they actually move. And if you never get a chance to go to a desert, then you can come down here. And this takes you to the desert. You feel like you're in one. Or you can head up to Michigan. They have dunes as well. But what an interesting place. And when you're up here, you actually can see the Atlantic side and the Sound side. So you kind of get a perspective of how far in the ocean you are. But definitely check out Jockeys Ridge. Some good hiking here. You're not going to spend more than half a day here, maybe a full day if you want to hang out. I know they have some kite festivals, which would be really neat, just to come up here and fly a kite. I think they do that. The guy told me, I believe in May or April, and they come out here and a bunch of people get together and just fly kites. So, but if you get down here, definitely check out Jockeys Ridge. If it was really hot, probably would not be too much fun, but early in the morning, evening, fall, spring, it's February right now and it's perfect for hiking. But check it out, great scenery. You can see Sarah's hiking across the desert. She's a ways out, but of course the kids love it. It's sand, and there's all kinds of terrain to climb and slide and dig and hide, and so neat place to hike. Check it out. Welcome to Corolla, North Carolina. So we started this adventure. We've been looking. We spent many hours all over this island. So we started almost at the Virginia line. We're cutting back in there. Didn't see any horses. Talked to some locals. They said to head south. And then we saw a tour guide, and so we followed him for the longest time. Didn't see anything. So this is the last technical neighborhood. So you drive on the beach back into the neighborhoods, and we rented a four-wheel drive, which has been fun. And so this was the last opportunity. So it was really neat. We stopped. We had prayers of family. Every one of us prayed, and 20 minutes later, Levi spotted a wild horse, two of them. There's two of them over here. And so obviously it's exciting. We've been looking half the day. So sure enough, here they are. And it's been fun. There's some gnarly roads back in here. So that's been an adventure in itself. We've hit some water holes that scared me to death. The one we almost got stuck in, but we made it through. And then we had to, we got to a spot where I couldn't get through. We had to turn around. So a lot of neat places to go back in here. Not only is the four-wheeling nice and fun, especially with a Jeep, but then of course you get the sight of the horses. So we're very excited. This is what we were looking for. So if you get a chance, you're probably gonna have to get a four-wheel drive. I can't imagine. I mean, unless you were to just be out on the beach and they come out on the beach, which I'm sure happens, but you're gonna have to get back in here and search for them, and to try to walk all this, it's just too much. So 4-wheel drive is the way to go, specifically a Jeep. These roads are pretty tough, so, but it's exciting. Check it out, and it's memorable for sure.